a big thing about our sustainability journey is also about not judging.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially for me, my biggest issue and biggest mistake as well. This feeling of helplessness, because you're like, yeah, but am I really changing things?
Right.
I used to go everywhere with my huge yellow water bottle and used to drink in it.
Yeah, because I didn't have
all
my
the
own.
time.
Well,
we're not even together. Gross.
But that was kind of my way of flirting with you. It was like, hey, can I drink out of your water bottle? My relationship with Amazon. My relationship with Amazon Prime, which was a very serious relationship. And yeah, you made me understand how like not great that was for the environment. Just this like consumerism culture of like buy now.
Hello. Welcome back to French Kiss.
Hey.
In today's episode, we talked about our sustainability journey as a couple.
Yes, we did.
We talked about Amazon, vegan, guilt, helplessness, and what are the shifts that we encountered throughout our relationship and how we evolved as more eco-responsible people.
We try.
Yeah. Enjoy this episode of French Kiss. Hey everyone, welcome back to French Kiss.
Wow.
Did you like this?
Yeah, this energy. Yeah, I love it.
Today we're diving into a topic that's close to my heart: sustainability. From everyday choices to long-term ones, we're going to share our journey as a couple in sustainability.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I love this. Great intro.
Yeah? You think so?
You're the best host, man. I talk too much when I'm the host. I hate it.
No, but to start this episode with a bit of context, as usual.
Yes.
You have to know that when we met, so more than 4 years ago, I was kind of the eco-responsible one in the relationship.
I would say you still are, but...
Oh, I'm not so sure.
Okay.
Like, it had been a while that I already took actions, in my everyday life, as in recycling, upcycling, trying to buy local, not buying new stuff in stores, but rather go to thrift shops, for example, or use, secondhand apps like Vinted, Le Bon Coin, Facebook Marketplace,
Back market,
things like that. Supporting sustainable brands. Trying to eat less meat, travel less, and like in general, also like just trying to buy less, having trying to have a more minimalistic way of being. And then there was Loic. You have to know that at the time when we met,
you about to call me out?
Yes.
Go for it.
You used to feed yourself with saucisson and cheese, and there was an Amazon package being delivered at our place every 2 days. I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked.
And I was terrible at recycling as well. Like I was very just sort of.
You were confused.
I think this is recyclable, and you're like, no, that's not at all recyclable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But things have shifted then, big time.
Yeah.
We have a vegan Loic today with us.
We do.
Who refuses to take the plane to travel and who lectures me when I choose cow milk over oat milk.
That's not true. That's
kidding.
a lie. That's a full-on lie.
I'm kidding.
You can't lie for the podcast.
You don't lecture me. You don't lecture me. But,
I let you do whatever you want.
But I have to say that it feels like the student has become the master.
Mm.
Like yeah, it's crazy the journey you made like on yourself,
Yeah.
but as a couple, as I mean, in our relationship.
Yeah.
But for me, it's amazing because we now share this, and I feel less lonely and maybe more supported, in my journey. Yeah, today we are gonna explain those shifts first, and we're gonna share also like the insights, on this sustainability quest. Yeah, so let's start. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's go.
C'était bien?
Trop bien.
Okay, super. So first question, Loïc. When did you feel yourself shifting and why?
There's several different answers to that question because there were several different instances of shifts, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why in the intro I told you that I don't feel like the roles have switched.
Yeah.
Or I don't know exactly what you said. You said that the student has become the master. The reason I don't feel that way 100% is because I do feel like it tugs at your core.
Like me?
Yeah,
Ah.
like the whole sustainability question affects you in a way that it doesn't affect me. I think that I rationalize it in a way where I do the work to try to minimize my impact, but it doesn't I don't feel this visceral reaction that I think you have to things that are not sustainable.
Okay, fair.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, in the same way as you're more sensitive to animal cruelty,
Yeah.
which I'm less.
Yes, which I wasn't in the beginning at all.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by there were several instances. I think the first instance was actually the first time that we became vegetarian together. We even tried vegan for a little while together. Also, the listeners need to know I've only been vegan for like 2 months.
Not even.
Well, when this episode comes out, it will be 2
Okay.
months. Hopefully by then I'll still be vegan. But the first time we tried being vegan and then turned to vegetarian and then stopped before I became vegan, I stopped because I wasn't in a great place mental health wise. I had a lot of anxiety. I would get a lot of panic attacks, and it was probably just an easy, way for me to
Excuse?
get. Yeah, it was an easy excuse to just not do that. So I stopped doing that for a really long time actually, and then you decided as a resolution of 2024 to go vegetarian, and
But to eat meat once a week.
my sort of conseil, my sort of advice to you was maybe give yourself
precise number.
precise objective because
Yeah.
you just wanted to reduce your
Yeah.
meat intake, and I was like, very easily you'll start doing more and more throughout the year. So maybe if you have this very clear thing of you eat meat only once a week, and that's what you decided to do, and you did it, and you still do it to this day.
Yeah. It worked so well.
It worked so well. You did it so good, and you kept track. You keep track of weekdays in a way that I don't because I don't have a 9-to-5 job. So you're like, Loic, it's the weekend. I'm like, is it? I don't know. It's the same thing to me. But so you were able to keep track of how many times you had eaten that week, whereas I could never keep track with, have you eaten meat this week or not? Probably could have paid a little more attention. But anyways, yeah. So, and then in late 2024, early 2025, I decide cold turkey to go vegan, which might have been brought on by the fact, several things. One was the fact that we were in the US at the time. And the other thing might have been that we're going to have a child. And I think that, maybe it seemed more important for me to really make an important life decision change that, is, I think, important to the well-being of my children's future life. Sustainability has become a lot more important for us now that we're having children because, it's not more important. We should have always thought it was important, but now it's directly linked to our kids' well-being. So anyways.
It feels more like your responsibility to provide a healthy environment. A livable place to live in.
Yeah. So I think that to answer your question, sorry, I kind of diverged there, but I think that to answer your question, the first sort of real instance was when we started doing our show.
Again,
Again,
it all comes back to seas.
yeah, for those who didn't listen to the other episode, we talked about a play we did that was all about the decision of having a child and, you know, what that meant in a world where, you know, global warming is a big thing and we're just getting to a point where it feels like the end of the world is like, you know, several decades away from us.
In a near future.
Yeah. You know, our grandchildren are going to it's going to be really rough for them. So that was like the first instance of like me really reconsidering like my life choices and being like, I'm really going off the handle here. And some of the homework that we had to do for that show was watching documentaries. We watched Seaspiracy, we rewatched Cowspiracy, we watched a bunch of documentaries all about sustainability and the impact that we have on planet Earth. And my goodness, if that wasn't terrifying. And I think that was my first big shift. And that's when we decided to, I think, go vegetarian the first time.
Yeah, I think it was at this,
Point.
it was meanwhile.
Yeah. It was
yeah.
during this time, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the first, and then I think the second big one, although there have been, you know, as I said, little different moments, I think the next big one was during this winter break when I just really started getting into a subject that used to never really bother me or that I didn't even think twice about, which was, you know, animal cruelty. And I think the reason it never really got to me is because I did grow up sort of with this thing that a lot of people still think today, which is like they're animals. Like it's, you know, it's not the same. And I think one comment that really sort of made me change my perspective on that was how outraged people get about how people sometimes eat dogs. And it's like that there's a form of hypocrisy there where it's like we're getting this upset about like, what is it? Maybe like, I don't know how much it is, but it's really not even that many. I mean, people are going to be horrified by what I'm saying, but if you compare how many dogs are eaten in this festival in Yemen where they eat dogs, you compare that to the amount of pigs who are eaten, it's just astronomical.
Yeah.
And it's like what the only difference that we make, because they're just as sentient one from the other. Dogs and pigs pretty much have the same, you know, awareness of their lives. We just choose to be blinded.
Yeah.
And it's like I used to make jokes about that when I was a kid, where like there was this poster of like, where do you draw the line? There was all these animals, and then somebody like drew a line right before dog and right after pig.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is where we draw the line. And I was like, yeah, obviously, but it's like, why?
Yeah, this is so weird. Like we choose an animal over another.
We've just normalized that.
Yeah.
And it to me, when I heard that argument, I was like, yeah, wait, that doesn't make sense at all. It's so strange to me that people, basically, I followed this person on Instagram whose name is Tash, and she would do these videos with this other guy who would pretend to be selling dog meat on the street, and people were like outraged by it. And he's like, why is this upsetting you? You eat pigs. Like, what's the difference?
Eat
and
cows.
Like, and nobody was able to answer that question. Yeah. Nobody actually knows why they're so outraged by dogs being eaten and not. And by the way, it was fake. He wasn't actually selling dog meat. But
yeah.
They were so outraged by this.
He's pro-vegan.
He's pro-vegan. Yeah. He is vegan.
Yeah.
He was. They were outraged and they couldn't explain. They would just get mad. It was like, man, you guys just have like no. Yeah. You just have no argument against this. And that was the moment where I was like, you know what, like I don't want to be part of the hypocrite side of history. I don't want to be on the wrong side of history. And yeah, and I mean, you're always going to have people sort of react to that as like, well, how do you know plants aren't sentient? And it's like, dude, first of all,
there are some studies.
First of all, it's there's the burden of proof, which is like it's on the person saying that something exists. It's their responsibility to prove that there's something. So it's their responsibility to prove that plants are sentient, which has not been proved. We can't prove that they're not sentient. It's impossible to prove that something doesn't exist. You can only prove that something does exist. We can't prove that plants are sentient, but nobody's proved that they are. So it's like
I love your passion.
But we have proved that animals, this is going to sound preachy, but it's not at all. This is just why I like emotionally, viscerally reacted to becoming vegan, which was like, we know for a fact that animals feel fear and feel panic and feel stress and feel happiness as well. And like, I saw this video recently that I shared with you of like this pig sort of like jumping off a truck and he was going to a slaughterhouse. He jumps off the truck and some people saved him and adopt him like they would adopt a dog. And this pig acts just like a dog.
And he's living his best life right now.
And like you could tell that he's like, he's so happy. And it's like, how could we have normalized this and on the other hand are so outraged by dogs being eaten? So yeah, that was my long answer.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And also you told me someday that you were confused by people's motivations, like vegetarian people, because most of them do it for the animal cruelty.
Yeah.
So you're confused by them not being fully vegan then.
Well, I think that that's just a lack, and I'm not saying that I'm super well informed, but I think it is a lack of information. We became vegetarian and vegan for a little bit exclusively for ecological reasons, for sustainability reasons.
I mean, the main reason.
Yeah, the main reason. We didn't have a huge problem with. We had the same thing that everybody's saying, which is like it's the circle of life. Well, it's not.
Yeah, and also like you've been used to eat meat your whole life, like you're just used to it.
Yeah,
It's normalized.
Exactly. But I think that a lot of people who become vegetarian solely for animal cruelty reasons don't realize, I think, how cruel the dairy farm industry is.
Yeah.
Because I mean, how do you think cows make milk? They have to have kids. How do they have kids? They get
pretty much raped.
Yeah.
And then they're separated from their...
They get forcibly inseminated, and then as soon as the baby is born, they separate them. And the baby is either brought to a dairy farm if it's a female, and if it's a male, they're brought to a slaughterhouse for veal. So yeah, that's sort of, again, I'm not at all, this isn't, I'm not trying to get the listeners to become vegan, but I know that...
It's just our take.
Yes.
On
I think that, and I think that was a big thing, and I don't know if this is one of your questions, but a big thing about our sustainability journey is also about not judging.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it's part of a next question, but we can talk about it now. But yeah, I mean, especially like for me, it's my biggest issue and biggest mistake as well. Is becoming judgmental of people not taking the same actions as us, whereas I used to be one of you. One of them,
right? And we still are in a lot of ways.
We still are. Yeah, we cannot be perfect, but like if you start, looking at each other, pointing each other's
saying
behaviors,
you're doing this wrong, blah blah blah. Yeah.
No, you.
I think it's a discussion, and I think we see it firsthand when we, like, for example, when we talk to our vegetarian friend who is vegetarian for animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Like, there is zero judgment in the fact that they were like, I love cheese too much.
I love cheese. What can I say?
And that's another reason why I became vegan. It's like, I feel like my taste buds should not be the priority over some animals' lives. But I'm not gonna judge other people if that's not, because again, there are a lot of things that we don't do. We still take the plane. Taking the plane obliterates the carbon footprint that you're supposed to make in a year, like doubles it.
Yeah.
The amount you're supposed to make for us to be in a sustainable environment.
This is the worst.
We still do it. So it's like we can't judge people for their choices when we're still making not the best ones every time. We're just trying to do the best we can,
But I often feel that people do it the other way as well, because they will point out okay, you do this, but you don't do this.
Right.
So it's useless. I mean, it's hypocritical to call yourself eco-responsible, whereas you still take the plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's like they point out the not the few, but the things you do wrong in order to invalidate the things that you do right. But it's like, if you think about it that way, then might as well just do nothing, which is not the solution.
Okay. Good start.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. But yeah. No, I think we said everything about
It was
feeling guilt
when
and
did
stuff.
the guilt. The guilt is omnipresent.
Yeah, it's always there.
Yeah. But you have to let go of that guilt.
And also I think,
and just do your things.
I think that if you spend too much time thinking about all the things you're not doing, then you'll just end up not doing anything, which will just make it worse. So, I mean, obviously, it's okay to think that we could always do better, because I think we could always do better, but without it, like, getting to the point where you're just, like, stuck and don't even do anything, because you're like, what's the point? It's like, I hear you. But
and I think there's the guilt, and there's also, this feeling of
helplessness,
because you're like, but am I really changing things by not
eating meat?
Yeah. Whereas the big industries still continue producing.
And it's like, we're worried about taking a commercial flight with 300 people. Some people are still taking private jets like every day, like we're taking a car.
Is it really useful?
Yeah.
But I think it is.
I think it is.
Yes.
If everybody thought that way, then we would be like doubly screwed.
Yes. All right, moving on to the next question.
Let's go.
Is there a sustainable habit you've picked up that you're proud of, or one you think you still need to work on?
There's a bunch that I still need to work on, for sure. I think my biggest thing is buying new things.
Okay.
I still have, the reflex of buying the newest thing, and it's like, it's not, I feel like such a little pawn in the whole capitalist industry. And I'm a sucker. I'm a huge sucker for new things. Every time there's a new iPhone, I like go gaga over it. It's like, dude, it's like, don't buy that. You don't have to buy the new iPhone.
Or at least buy it
used.
Yeah.
But even then, it was used, 2 months, and then, if it's the new iPhone. I think that in buying new things instead of, refurbished and upcycled things. So that's the big thing for me. And you're a lot better at that. Every time, like when I wanted to buy like an air fryer, I wanted to go straight to like, I don't do Amazon anymore, but I wanted to go to Darty or something. And you were like, no, let's just look on Back Market, which sells, I didn't know these, because I thought they only sold phones and stuff. But
at first. Yeah. At first, yes. Now they are expanding their products.
It's good. All sorts of reused electronics. But anyways, so that for me is where I can definitely do better. And I think the thing that I'm proud of, again, it's only been 2 months, but the thing that I'm proud of for sure is going vegan. I think that's
big step.
It's a big step, and also very quickly I realized how easy it is. I'm not saying this to like guilt people. Again, that's not the point. But for me, I thought it was going to be really hard because I love food.
And you love meat.
I love meat. I love going to restaurants. I love ordering. I love food in general, and meat is super tasty. But I mean, I think there's two things to the fact that it's really easy. The first one is that the vegan food industry is very present.
Yeah, more and more.
More and more. I mean, maybe not in certain regions of France, for example, but in Paris, it 100% is. It's so easy in Paris to be vegan. There's a bunch of vegan options, a bunch of vegan restaurants. You can buy any food vegan. So just do that. And I mean, obviously there's certain things that I'm gonna miss. Like milk. I love cow milk. I do, but
yeah, it's so good. But again, I think it's a matter of habits. Like
it's 100% a matter of habit. And it's only been 2 months, and I already don't like miss it that much. I don't miss cheese. I love cheese. I don't miss it though. I can live without cheese. And people are gonna laugh at this, but there are good cheese options, vegan cheese options. They exist. The other day we discovered a Chinese vegan restaurant. Yeah. And the sweet and sour pork didn't taste like sweet and sour pork, but it had its own flavor and it was delicious. And it's like
no pork, you mean?
The no pork, okay. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, it was a vegan pork, obviously. But so it didn't taste like no actual pork, but it tasted delicious. And it's just like, yeah, if we remember, like, I feel that if you grew up vegan, you wouldn't really miss it. You could be totally okay. And I think that that's something that I've been thinking about a lot. Is I don't necessarily want to. I'm not gonna force our child to be vegan. That's 100% sure. It wouldn't make sense for me to feed my baby meat, even though I'm reducing my meat. It just wouldn't make sense. But if at a certain age they like want meat, I'm gonna say yes. But I saw this guy interview one time, and I thought it was really interesting. He's like, humans aren't necessarily carnivorous beings. You give a lion an apple and a rabbit, he will eat the rabbit. You give a child an apple and a bunny, he's gonna eat that. He will play with the bunny. He'll eat the apple.
Yes.
There's no way you would ever see a child bite into a rabbit to eat it.
Yes.
That doesn't exist.
It is crazy.
So yeah, I mean, we'll definitely get informed and see if like you can actually. It is. I believe it is. I do think you can have a healthy baby that's vegan without, I mean it's hard to decide words, but you have to make a choice for the child. Like anything you decide for the child,
first years.
Yeah. It's not like he'll decide on his own, like, no, I definitely want to eat meat. So yeah, that's a big thing.
Are you doing the groceries?
I feel like some people are gonna find me a little bit extreme to like decide to only feed our child fruits and veggies, but I don't think it shouldn't be seen as extreme. There's definitely the judgment that we have towards people that we shouldn't have, that like still shop at Zara and things like that. But there's also the judgment that people have towards vegan people, for example, or vegetarian people, especially in France, where it's like, why do you care what I decide to eat?
Yeah.
And every
it doesn't
time
change anything.
It doesn't change anything. Like, if you're invited somewhere and it's like a burden for them, like, sure, maybe you could like you can be like a little bit like annoyed about it. They're like, man, I have to cook for this person a separate meal because they're vegan. Like yesterday we had people over, you had to make a separate batch for my vegan lasagna because you made normal lasagna for everybody else. Normal.
Vegetarian.
Not vegan.
There are so many layers now.
But yeah, I don't understand the sort of hate, and I'm sure people are going to listen to this episode and think that I'm way too extreme talking about wanting to maybe have a vegan diet for my baby, but I don't know why it's seen at such an extreme. It doesn't seem that crazy to not want to eat animal meat. It's not that insane of a thing to do.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
Like, some people are lactose intolerant. You don't like judge them because they don't drink milk. You're just like, okay.
And you talk about a burden, but I would say that most of the time, most of the vegan people are the most débrouillards, and they will adapt more than
of course
non-vegan people,
because we have to.
Yeah. So just let us do our thing, Don't put your own guilt on us.
I definitely think there's some
wink,
sort of
wink.
projection of yeah, totally.
But yeah,
to go back to the whole baby thing, I don't know. I want us to get informed before we jump into potentially doing that. I know we haven't had this conversation. And again, I'm not here to force anybody or to lecture anybody or to, tell anybody the benefits of being vegan for the planet, for your health, for all these different things. Even though it might sound like I am, because everybody's choice is their choice. I just feel like for me personally, and for what I think is the right thing to do, but without judgment, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you. We're not there yet, but it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
The baby vegan conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one.
And I mean, it's all about consent, because of course I'm questioning myself about this as well. And I'm like, isn't it weird to impose something on a human being that I have no idea that have no conscience. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
but no knowledge, to understand what is happening to them. And I think it's, I'm diverging here, but I think it's the same for social media. Like they don't have, they cannot understand yet what's happening when you when you put photos and videos of them on the internet.
Yeah.
And when they're gonna be of age to understand,
Yeah.
they could be super confused and mad, and they would have the right to be,
Yeah. Well, I think it's rough because kids don't have any consent until they're at the age of consent. So it's like you don't want to force anything upon them, but there are things you have to because they don't have a choice, and that goes for being vegan.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? I know you're the host, but I have a little question.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've ever asked you this question, but how do you feel about me being vegan?
Oh, I love it.
You don't feel like that puts any judgment upon you? Like you don't feel like...
Not at all.
No, yeah.
No, I feel like I was the leader in terms of sustainability in our relationship. I feel like I created a monster, guys. No. I love it. I'm super proud of you. I wouldn't mind trying to go vegan as well, but this is just not the right timing for me. It's not the right moment because I'm pregnant, to have to change diet.
Yeah.
Basically. But I love vegan dishes. I often eat vegan with you.
Mm-hmm.
And no, if anything, I'm happy about it. And it releases guilt,
Like it
I feel like I don't have to justify myself anymore for anything.
Did you feel like you had to justify?
Not with you, but no, not with you. But like now you're the hardcore one. So I'm like, yeah.
I'm the problem child now.
Yeah, talk with him. No.
Yeah, figure it out with Loic. He's the one who's vegan, crazy dude.
Oh no, but if anything, I'm super proud and super happy that you joined me. That I brought you in my
to the dark side.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel less pressure also, maybe. Yeah. I feel more supported. Yeah.
Amazing.
So you were saying that we found delicious vegan options in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find it easier to have a sustainable lifestyle in France or in America? And not just regarding food, but in general.
Oh, that's a good question. I know that. I guess the question kind of comes down to who's better at sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Because if one is better than the other, then the choices are going to be easier as well. Because if the government pushes, industries to go in a certain direction, they're going to have to do it, whether that's what the customers ask for or not. Like for example, I know that I think France banned plastic bags before the U.S. did. Not 100% sure, but I'm quite sure. They did that in 2016. Not sure when the U.S. implemented that. I know that now they have a 5-cent charge for a plastic bag or whatever. But so things like that make it so you don't really have a choice anyways. So it's going to be easier. I think that from my experience, you have to know that when I go to the U.S. most of the times, I go to big cities, and most of the time I go to San Francisco. And in San Francisco, there's a huge veggie and vegan culture. We went to a store called Rainbow Market, where it was so many vegan options. I think most of the options were vegan or vegetarian.
And we discovered super delicious vegan diners.
Yeah, we found vegan diners. That's true. It was delicious.
It was so good.
So I don't know that we would find that as easy in Paris.
Yeah.
But there's, the dairy, the cheese and meat industry in France is more of a cultural ingrained thing than it is in the US.
Yeah.
Especially once again in California / San Francisco. So that's that has been my experience. So personally, from going to San Francisco versus living in Paris, it's easier for me to be eco-friendly in San Francisco. That's what I feel. Now, if I compare both countries, I mean, not to get political, but Trump, who just took office, the first week, I think maybe even the first day, signed out of the Accord de Paris.
Yeah.
Which is an agreement on having a more sustainable way of living for the entire world, for every country to be on the same page about. And Trump signs out of that.
So we have, America has good years ahead of
Yeah, exactly.
her.
And Trump is also pushing for fossil fuels to be to be the way they go. So like you go USA. So yeah, obviously when it comes to like the decisions that the countries have taken, I think France is way ahead. That's the feeling that I've gotten. But for me, it's been easier to be vegetarian and vegan in the US. But that's if we take into consideration the fact that I was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Rather than in Paris.
Maybe the vegan and vegetarian people proportion is more important in the US, so that's why the market is bigger. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but I really do think it's like a regional thing.
Yeah, okay.
Where it's like you just, like, I don't know, I would have to compare Paris to New York, but I don't know. I really don't know. We found a vegan Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
That's super niche.
Yeah.
But we found that in Paris.
And there are super like recent brands that are,
like La Vie.
Like La Vie.
La Vie is an amazing brand that's taking a lot of like space in like metro ads and stuff. So we see it everywhere. They have a great comm team, a great PR team. Like they have this amazing ad where it's like your childhood ham if you were born in 2025. And it's like, yeah, especially because we have a baby who's coming in 2025. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more relevant going vegan. And
nowadays, you mean?
Nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think that companies like La Vie are more and more start popping up.
Yeah, and obviously it's becoming a market.
Yeah.
Like it's all about marketing as well, and they're gonna, target they're gonna target specific people.
Yeah. I think vegetarian and vegan companies are there's gonna be more and more of them in France, and in the US too. But yeah, it's becoming a bigger and that's one of the things that makes me hopeful is seeing these things popping up because you're like, okay, so there's a demand for vegan and vegetarian diets, and that can only be a good thing for the planet, I think. So I think it's doable anywhere, but I think that the French government for sure is implementing a lot more sustainable things than the U.S. government is, especially since Trump.
Yeah.
So, what you gonna do?
Yeah. Okay, next question.
All right.
Are there specific eco-friendly habits in France that you don't see in the US or vice versa?
Maybe this is just you and not like a French thing in general, but I feel like there's this thing that everybody does here that maybe, again, I moved in Paris in 2020, so maybe a lot of things changed since then. But I rarely remember or ever remember going to the store with my own bag.
Ah, yeah.
To the supermarket with my own bag. We always do that. And I feel like that's just...
We love a good tote bag.
And maybe this goes back to the no plastic bag thing since 2016, which was implemented pretty early on in France, which I don't know if it was implemented soon after in the US. But I think that decisions like that make it so very quickly people are like, okay, we're going to adapt. We got to bring our own bags. And that's how it goes now. I'm sure a lot of people do it in the US. I know my mom did it. Does.
But
But yeah, that's one thing that I know
Okay.
almost every French shopper does is
Yeah,
bring
yeah,
their own
yeah.
bag.
Because that's true. When we met, you used to go do the groceries. Like,
I would always, I mean, it was a paper bag, but I would always buy
yeah, yeah, yeah.
bags there. I would never take my own bag.
Okay. So yeah, yeah, you were not very sensitive to single-use plastic.
Yeah.
Like I remember at the beginning, we were not even together yet. I used to go everywhere. I mean, I still do, but it changed. I used to go everywhere with my huge yellow water bottle, and you used to drink in it
Yeah, because I didn't have
all
my
the
own.
time.
Well, well, that,
And we were not even together. Gross.
yeah, here's the thing. You're gonna hate this. There was a time where I lived in the U.S. where I would buy huge packs of like 24 water bottles,
The gallon.
plastic water bottles.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I would take one every day. And but this goes more with the fact that I forget everything and I lose everything. So it's just easier for me to have a plastic water bottle that I could throw away than to have to keep track of my. I just wasn't used to keeping track of my stuff in general, I guess. But yeah, I would drink out of yours, and I remember that would upset you. But that was kind of my way of flirting with you. It was like, hey, can I drink out of your water bottle?
Yeah, but you would empty it, and I was thirsty.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, your family buys a lot of plastic
Water bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's American, but it sure is a suburban thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, next question, and I think it's gonna be my last one for you today.
All right.
So do you think I have influenced your habits in terms of sustainability and eco-friendly lifestyle? And do you ever feel it's unhealthy for a couple to influence each other so strongly in areas like that?
Whoa. Interesting. I think. Ooh, la la la. My answer to the first part of that question is 100%. I think you didn't. I don't. We have many conversations about maybe some things that you're judgmental about. And I think this goes back to, I mean, it was in another episode, but where we talked about your parents sort of implementing this judgmental way of being,
of interacting.
And I think that's something you're trying to get rid of, but you will have some judgmental reactions to things. We all have our shortcomings. This is yours. Sometimes you'll be quite judgmental, which isn't always a bad thing, because I think there's certain things we can be a little bit judgmental about and kind of, maybe, I don't know.
I think putting things in perspective is a better way to handle.
Rather than being judgmental, you mean?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
A bit of curiosity.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. I love that perspective. But I think that you were particularly judgmental about my relationship with Amazon. My relationship with Amazon Prime, which was a very serious relationship.
A long-term one.
Long-term. We were set to get married. We had, it was hardcore. I would order Amazon almost every other day, essentially. And you, let's say, put that in perspective. And you made me understand how, like, not great that was for the environment. Just this, like, consumerism culture of, like, buy now.
Yeah.
Literally a button on Amazon that says buy now.
Yeah.
And I would buy things that I didn't need. I would constantly just, like, have impulsive buys, and it just wasn't good. And very quickly you made me realize, maybe with a bit of judgment, but whatever, that's not great. And I very quickly realized that I should stop doing that.
Yeah. But they're so good at it. Like,
for sure.
It's a whole system that's made for you to buy, to buy more.
Buy more.
Buy more.
Yeah.
And But yeah, I think it goes beyond the environmental impact problem. It goes beyond the environmental problem. It's more about, how you act, how you consume
Yeah.
as a human being.
Yeah.
Because you're just a slave. You
There's
don't.
no reflection.
Yeah.
There's zero reflection time on like, should I buy this?
Yeah.
Because it's so, the only thing that's like maybe inconvenient is the price tag. And even that, it's like things cost 15, 20, like things are so cheap on Amazon for what they really are. So even that's like not a huge issue. Because everything else, it's like it takes 2 seconds to go on the app, 3 seconds to look up what you're looking for, half a second to click buy now, and the next thing you know, it's at your doorstep. So other than the price, there's like nothing stopping you from getting this thing, and there's zero inconvenience. And the lack of inconvenience has turned us into like even bigger consumers than we already were. Because there was a time where you thought maybe you needed something, and then the whole process of like planning out your trip to the store to buy it and all this stuff, maybe you had time to be like, okay, maybe I don't really need it. Now that doesn't exist. It's like, maybe I need it, let's buy it. So yeah, I stopped. Thanks to you, I stopped Amazoning. I just stopped Amazoning. I stopped Amazoning. It's a verb now. We stopped Amazoning. Or we've reduced it to nearly like once a month, and that is big. So yeah. So yes to that question. And to
Can I just add something?
Of course.
In the meanwhile, regarding my judgmental way of being, I think it's I think it's a mistake from my part, but because we are in a relationship, I would see ourselves as one entity, which you should never do this. In general, it's super important to keep your independence from one another. You're two different human beings,
of course,
with your own thoughts, values, motivations, fears, stuff.
And it's
like
okay.
that. Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree. But because we are a couple, I would feel responsible for you and for your actions.
Yeah.
So I saw it like an extension of myself, and I was like, I cannot be, paired with someone.
I cannot be responsible for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to, And maybe that's why I was so judgmental about it.
Because you saw yourself in it and you were like...
Yeah, but again, you're not responsible of your partner.
Well, here's the thing. I think this perfectly transitions into the second part of the question, which is it a good thing to like change your partner essentially?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's good to have that as a goal necessarily. I mean, for certain things, yes.
Like what?
Well, like for example, if you see your partner doing things that are extremely unhealthy for them, it's okay to want them to be better and to have better habits and to do better. And like, if your partner isn't helping around at all and your goal is, okay, I need them to help me, I think that's totally valid and okay. So in certain instances, I think it's okay for your goal, but is your goal to change the person because you would prefer them to be a certain way and not necessarily because it's better for the functioning of the relationship or for their well-being? You just want to change them because you feel like it's better to be this way? Then I would say that's not a good thing.
Yeah, but in what terms?
Like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because being more eco-responsible is a value that not everyone shares, So...
But I mean, it depends on the degree of how important. It depends on how important that is to you, though. If it's something that's like, it's at the core of who you are as a person, and you think it's incredibly important, and you share your life with somebody who doesn't care about that, then that's a problem of values and a difference in values, and it's okay. But I think at that point, maybe you're not right for each other. If it's that important to you, maybe it's not right for you. Of course, it's okay to like try to meet halfway and to tell your partner, hey, maybe we can find a middle ground, or to also say, hey, I would really like to open your eyes to this issue. And if eventually you feel like, well, then that's just there's just a problem and you guys have different values and you can choose to leave that relationship or stay in it while being okay that you have while being okay with the agree to disagree functioning of the relationship, where it's like you guys don't have to be on the same page about everything.
Yeah.
If it's a problem for you, then don't be in that relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fine line that you bring up, and I think it's really hard to determine. I know that you struggled with that a lot in terms of, this is going to be a stupid example, but you did struggle with this in terms of how I dressed. Because I dress like a plouc, as we say. I've said this before. I dress like l'as de pique, which is an expression in
As
French.
the pique? Yeah, that's so funny.
Which is the ace of clubs. I don't know why we say that, but I would dress like a fool, like a real fool. Like I dressed really badly. Was not an attractive style. I mean, I now I'm pretty chill, but like I wouldn't say I'm a particularly good dresser, but I definitely don't dress like an idiot anymore. And that was something that you.
That was an internal fight for me.
Yeah, like
because
you were like, I don't
like,
want to change him.
Yeah,
but...
my goal is not to change you. I don't want to change you.
Well, I think this is a great example of something that's like, it's not super important for my well-being. It's not important for our relationship. It's just, you think I don't dress well, and you were torn by like, should I let him dress the way he wants to dress, or should I help him? Because clearly I can help him.
Subtly influence him, you know?
Which is what you did, and there was no resistance on my part, because the reason I didn't dress well was because I didn't care. So if you had an opinion on it, why wouldn't I just be like, you know what, I like that too. So I mean, I'll draw the line on certain things. If I don't like something, I won't wear it.
Well, yeah, but also you could have decided to just continue not care.
Yeah,
to not care.
And I think you would have been okay with that.
Yeah.
Like it would have been hurt. It would have hurt your eyes, maybe. It would have been a little hard for you, but I mean, I don't think you would have decided that was too much in terms of our relationship. And also, I don't think that your goal was to make me a better dresser. No. That wasn't your ultimate goal of like, I have to get this guy to dress well because people will see my boyfriend and think that I'm dating a loser. That wasn't your goal.
Yeah, but then that's a you problem. I mean, the person who says that, who thinks that, you know?
Who thinks that I'm a loser, that's a them problem.
I mean, I don't want, if someone says, I don't want people
to associate me with a loser.
It's your problem.
That's a them problem. Yeah, for sure. I don't think that was ever the case for you. I just think that I really think it was a philanthropic. I really think there was this. I really think it was just like you were being a good person and wanted to help out a poor soul that didn't know how to dress well, and you lend a helping hand, and you just wanted to you just wanted to help me out. It wasn't this like need to make me look better, you know. Mm-hmm. But I understand this dilemma that you were going through, for sure.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's no need to be a dictateur in a relationship.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a balance to find between, you know, self-improvement and improvement within the relationship, while letting both of you have your own values about certain things, and if they don't clash and if it's not a problem for you, let them have a different opinion than you. That's totally okay. You're not, like you said, you're not one person. Mm-hmm. You're two individuals who have chosen to build a life together. But I think if anything, it is important for you to have different views and different perspective on things, and to sometimes agree to disagree. And maybe it'll open your eyes to a different way of seeing things. And as long as you're open to that, I think it can open up really interesting conversations, and you can maybe alter your perception without necessarily agreeing to everything that the other person does.
Exactly. Yeah. Amazing.
Was that a good answer for you?
It was perfect.
Amazing.
And this is the end of the episode.
Oh no!
Yeah, I'm kind of sad. We could go on and on.
We could
on this topic.
But I do think that it'll come up in other
Yeah.
episodes. It doesn't have to be the main. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Thank you so much for those questions.
my pleasure. Yeah, I was very excited about asking you these ones.
Yeah.
And again, we're not here to tell you to do this or that. We're not doing the apology.
Yeah, we're not preaching.
No,
We're
no.
not preaching.
We just shared a bit of insight on our sustainability journey.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening.
Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, this was French Kiss.